Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode, again, another interesting episode about interviews. I've got an interview with more of my friends that from the past, and we would talk about older times, different things about anime, and of course, some of the history that has passed along the way. All right. Before I begin, I'd like to remind people to go down below and click like and click subscribe. Even if you want to leave a comment below about this particular video and some opinions that you have, by all means, that does help the algorithm for YouTube. If you're interested in supporting me financially, I have the links for the super thanks as well as the PayPal and Patreon links below, where you can subscribe and get the special content that I cannot post here on YouTube. Again, there's a list with the link below of all the various different episodes I have for the History of Fan Anime, as well as the extra episodes that are available to the subscribers. And then it covers a lot of the content that, again, just YouTube just won't allow me to talk about. So, all that the extra content is there. All right. So, in today's episode, we're going to have an interview with my friend Troy. Now, Troy, lives quite a ways out from Vancouver, still within what they call the Greater Vancouver Regional District. But it's a fair ways away. A good 45 minutes to an hour out of town by car. But we get together once in a while and basically go over different things. In today's interview, we can go talk more about that. Okay, so without further delay, let's begin.
Some of us and our older members, do you remember was it CDV or
CDs? Yeah.
How many of us still have some of those?
Yeah.
Or going to Crystal Mall, and some of the toy shops there.
Yeah, because of all Parker Place.
The bookstore across from, used to be Old Indies Town, at Metro Town on the opposite side. There was a little Japanese bookstore. And I picked up... This was a little...
Wait a minute, yeah.
I didn't know the name of it. It was all had like Chinese, Japanese manga and books in there. And I bought one of the I don't know if it was a rental or not, but they allowed me to buy one of the Oriental Sailor Moons. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of... So we were kind of privileged.
Troy talks about obviously a couple things here. He starts mentioning that one of the medias that he first initially got was VCD. Now this is again obviously an old, outdated form of technology where, like a DVD, they try to compress and put all the content onto a CD rather than a DVD. And of course, this is possible, but I mean, the compression rate and how much you can actually fit onto one of those things is a lot lower. In general, you can only fit like about an hour's worth of video content on a CDV. But it was for some of us our first way of actually watching some of the videos and that kind of stuff that we got. And I know that later on I used a lot of CDVs, especially when they come from like Hong Kong and Taiwan and whatnot. Because it was a really popular format. It was easy to spread around, shall we say. But no, I ended up using it because a lot of stuff came on CDVs translated into Chinese, either with Chinese subtitles or with Chinese or like Cantonese dub type of thing, right? Well, within that was Orgus on VCD. I know for later on I started using Cantonese versions to translate things like Heavy Metal Elgime, Double Zeta Gundam, Dragon R, things like that. I worked off of the Chinese copy. Troy just illustrates that some of us we had to go into different kinds of parts of town in order to get these sort of things, and it just happens to be this small little bookstore in a mall that happens to sell Japanese and Chinese books, and along that they had some CDVs of Sailor Moon and that kind of stuff. And again, that's how he got some of his episodes of Sailor Moon. Sure, they may not be in English. They probably were in Chinese or Japanese dialogue with Chinese subtitles or something like that. But that was his way of getting it.
Well, I think back then,
Oh God,
comic book stores were like really important to us because that's how. I mean, that was for many of us was the start, of our little community, right? Because I remember even myself when I first moved to Vancouver, there was this comic book store on Joyce and Kingsway there. ABC.
Yeah. Rob, I think it was. Had that store, and that was the first place I found out about anime and that kind of stuff. Because I went in there, and I remember they had this, like I said, it's mostly, at that time, it's mostly, Marvel and DC. Very, very little independence. But I remember in their showcase, they had this Megazone 23 book in Japanese, right? Like, no translation or anything like that. But they had it there, and they were charging like, it was like a 1,000 yen book or something like that. But they were charging like $30 or something. Something just totally retarded, right? And but I said, I'll buy it, whatever. And looked at it, and it's like, oh my god, there's actually, this is like, really, deeply colored. And then you see it, and it's like a shower scene. Oh my god! Like this is unheard of in the comic world, right? It's like you'd never see this kind of stuff, right? So so
the Ghost in the Shell stuff, in that aspect. Imperial Hobbies' original store before it got
Richmond, yes. Well, yeah, because they were across the mall.
Yeah.
This section, I just wanted to emphasize that. For a lot of us, comic book stores, just small little, privately owned little comic book shops, mom and pop shops or whatever, they were our first sort of, introduction to Japanese animation. I mean, obviously, if you live in a smaller town or, in a not so busy sort of area, I mean, this is like, you're probably about the only place you're going to find anything that's remotely Japanese animation, right? Again, before it hit mainstream, none of the major outlets would have had any anime at all, right? So only these sort of really hobby, sort of, comic book kind of nerdy kind of places would have that kind of stuff. And even if they did, it'd be so little of it, right? I said, even when in my own perfect experience with the ABC comic book store, right? I mean, they had like massive, like 3, 4, 5 counters full of glass displays of all these different comics and collectible cards and all this other stuff. But their anime section, if they even had anything, right, it would be just one little, maybe little, a tiny shelf, one shelf out of like 5 shelves in this one display or something like that. And it might just have just a couple of mangas or, maybe a bunch of Studio Ghibli books for like, Nausicaa or Laputa or something like that, or the odd maybe Macross book maybe, and in this case, like a Megazone 23 book, right? And again, this is one of the ways that I sort of got into anime because I said, this comic book store was close to my house. It was, in the main sort of business district, between my bank and basically the Safeway where I did a lot of shopping. It just happens to be there. And so, quite a few times I'd go in there just to see if they had anything. Most of the time they didn't. But, on that odd occasion, somehow they got, this weird Japanese book. And then, I went and bought it, right? Didn't buy much, but, it wasn't longer after that I quickly found out that there is this actual Japanese bookstore called Sophia's Bookstore downtown. And then I started getting all my Japanese books directly from them because they'd order anything and everything that I wanted. I got my magazine subscriptions from them, and basically became better educated of where to get Japanese stuff. But again, the beginning, it just happens to be just the humble old comic book store.
trying to remember the Angel Blade. There's a couple of girls in cosplay.
Oh,
05.
okay.
The German-looking gal and one of the other gals. Somebody asked them to cover up at the con, but I thought it was very daring at the time, that type of cosplay, because it was bold and I loved it, but, you know, we're a family type event, so.
So we were talking about stories about, really, risque, sort of, usage of cosplay during conventions. I'm not going to repeat the same story over again, but I do have that story where they started using porn stars and that kind of stuff. Some of these companies would use, Playboy pets and penthouse, models and whatnot, and they dress them up in various different superhero costumes and comic costumes, and basically stand them up in front of their booth at the Comic Con or something. And of course, all the attention would go to them, and so people would come over to to the booth to see what's going on, take pictures, selfies, whatever. To basically make sure that their booth has lots of people around them, and trying to generate lots of buzz for whatever comic happens to be, whether it's Barbarella, it's She. A lot of companies did use this this form of attention grabbing, and probably still do, but now they've kind of probably toned it down a little bit. The other story that Troy alludes to is that he saw a bunch of girls cosplaying for a spicy anime called Angel Blade. I also had a story where I talked about a person dressing up at the San Diego Comic Con in a superhero costume that was like literally like nothing. And again, I won't tell the whole story here. I'll just give you the link on the thing here to basically go and watch it, the full story on that one in my previous episode. All right.
I'm really surprised SakinoCon came back. They got a little 2-day event happening over in Esquimalt. Because I thought, source mine said they were not going to be functioning anymore, but nice to see that they're going to have a smaller event and it's going to be suiting people on Vancouver Island. Capital City Comic Con decided not to go ahead this year, waiting another year, and I think that's smart. But right now we have a nice variety. I'm going to make a shout out to recently, beside the anime shop in Kelowna, really good. I did a video. Store is amazing. Vernon had a 1-day anime con up there.
Yeah, I went up to Prince George for their anime con that weekend.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that it's still a pretty vibrant community. The convention center is actually kind of interesting laid out.
Yeah.
It's connected to the fairgrounds.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
So that way you can actually basically go to the fairgrounds and do stuff there at the same time you actually participate in something.
And just up and coming for those who might be interested, Penticton has a anime called TeddyCon. Ran into it because when my stepmother passed away, we were at the school there, which is associated with their convention center and ice rink.
Okay.
Got there, stopped in to say hello to the management there. I said, could I take one of your programs? There's another old school programs back in the old days.
Yeah. Well, I think they still have them, but they're like one pagers that go download off the website. Like,
but I recommend you check out these smaller type events, and if you have one in your Mission British Columbia just had one. I don't know how well it went, but at their local library.
The thing I think about the smaller cons like that is it allows the community to it's smaller and tighter knit.
Yeah.
Because I find that the large conventions of that even as large as say Anime Runway, it is. Mm-hmm. I just look at the pricing structure and look at the schedule. They only have enough stuff for like 1 day.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why they pull 3 days, but
they pull 3 days because they want to spread the stuff out. But essentially, it doesn't matter which day you go to. They're essentially charging you 1 day's worth of stuff. And we're just gonna throw in the other 2 days because we have nothing better to do on the Friday and the Sunday anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Might as well hang out.
That's like it's like come back and hang out and maybe see some of other events that are kind of really sparse on the schedule. It's like,
but I think you get your value more for one day. Like I've gone to Anime Evolution one day, your spring and winter events, and I think you get a lot more of it. I guess it's a bit cramped.
Yeah,
but you get your value out of it.
I think so. It's because I think that we're wrong, but I mean, I think obviously ever since 2008, we've lost a lot of the companies and that kind of stuff, and so corporate sponsorship and that kind of stuff is really hard to come by. So a lot of these conventions are a little stuck on content. Promotion,
programming content, exactly.
And so they have to dig in locally and get a lot of stuff like that. And that not to say that it's all bad and everything, but it's just it really other than like a concentrated workshop on a particular day or something like that. It's hard to spread that same kind of stuff over 3 days.
And then notice what I'm noticing in the last 10 years. Let's say our community attendance, I don't care what numbers AR is saying or AU is saying, whoever's saying. I'm saying looking at your average attendance, we're only strong about 5 to 10,000. We have not really grown past that.
Yes, I agree.
But we don't have a venue that is catering to that. We don't have, especially on the south side of the river, anything to even try to attempt to have a one-day event for people in the Fraser Valley who do not want to come out just because everything now is just triple and gas and food. It's, have your kids.
Do you ever see how expensive it is to park down in the downtown?
So, but I think our issue has been not just a bit of apathy and some of the, we'll call it the market, but I think it's, I'm not saying we've hit our peak, I don't think so, but this is our barometer. Our barometer is between this amount. As I said, I don't care who's putting up whatever numbers, but consistently, if we look at overall, and not people walking through your event, walking in the hallway. I'm talking people who are paid, as in wrestling they say, asses to seats. Who is paid for those tickets to come in and view your content at the event?
I think that's part of the problem. Is that well, good. Okay. Again, I think it used to be that a lot of people came in to anime conventions to get not only consume the anime content, but to also get anime merchandise. Where the convention now is just a place where people not just get together, but you could really get that stuff anyway.
You go online now and get
and so what do you go to a convention for? To actually do the presentation of yourself, cosplay, self-promotion. But it isn't, but
I am one hell of a kingpin.
Yes, but at the same time, right? A lot of people aren't going there for connection. Because they don't really. I mean, unless they find out, these other people from my online community or whatever is also going to go there.
A little bit more, I think. I noticed that, like with our. And so the convention is for you because that's your 3-day getaway from whatever your reality is, wherever your work job, your house, whatever. And this day just feels a little bit more disconnected in that aspect.
So that's what I think too. And when even if you go there one time and you find or don't find that little whatever thing that you were or maybe these people just don't want that kind of attention. Interaction or whatever.
I loved going into the panel with Jesus and Buddha one year for Cause and Effect. During Virtue at a card was Buddha in a red silk. And had the big beads and that. And that's what's so beauty about anime. It blends spirituality, it blends gender, it blends creeds and racing. Creeds and Race, and other stuff. It just blends it all together. Mythology. It's just amazing if you really look at it. And you know, if we can get past, I want to use the word prejudices, but I think that's becoming obsolete now. But if we look past these type of things and see the fellow anime individual as our brother, as our sister, as somebody who needs help, if they ask for help, just even a supportive word at an event, we're all going through stuff. But that's the common bond of anime, is it hits us to our core. I was talking to a friend of mine, more specifically on relationships in general. And I said, I'm tired of all these personalities. I'm tired of all these stories. And this is associated with anime. What is the core you, like in anime? What is the core you, the core being, the core of the heroine, the hero, the villain, male or female or other, or robot? What is that core being? Not the masks that they show or the monologue of, you know, I'm evil, I'm going to kill you, Mr. Bond. You know, the big question is definitely, who are you? Not just who am I? Because the M is like that. I'm gonna get this to go, please.
Yeah.
I feel like the M is like branches on a tree. How's that core you, that heart, that blood, the pumping? Is that trunk of the tree and the roots? Right. The M is the display. But the centeredness, like Buddha and Jesus and other figures that are also in that way, are in you. Are you in that aspect? You, the core being. Not some. It's great that we can run around cosplaying, you know, be these different figures. But when you go home, they're just part of you, and you're part of them. But you bring that out at the event. Well, otherwise, when you're at home, you go through your mundane, or you have your D&D group, or whatever you do, you know. And I think that's, to me, that's the key. Is this being who you are at the event. Now, we've had some troublemakers, we know that, at these events. But you cannot let these individuals get to you at the event. I mean, I've heard stories of people, friends leave, well, my friends left me and da-da-da-da. Yeah, it sucks. But there are other people you can meet at the event. There's staff, there's volunteers, there's support team. There's a ton of people. There's a ton of people who give a damn in this community. I think that's what we've lost too, but caring about our community. And I look at Dan Patang. He gives it in. You know, Chad Ma, who one of our founders who recently passed away. He was a bit a hard shell on the outside, but his core being, he was not just a teddy bear, he was an angel. And he supported you no matter if you fucked up, pardon my language, but I'm being very honest here.
Yeah.
Made poor decisions, so forth. But if you were willing to show an effort, Chad would forgive you and support you. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, these type of people of the older generation are going. But you as the next generation can set these examples if you choose to do it.
Yeah, that's great, yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't know, just maybe just people just feel that, you know, I don't know if it's just, it's just part of, well, I'm probably pretty sure it's social media, being as toxic as it is. But, you know.
Oh, don't get us started on 4chan back in the days.
Oh my god.
Toxicity to its max.
Oh yeah. Yeah, true. Well, yeah, it's not that we didn't have that, you know, that level of toxicity, that's for sure. But I mean, that's the thing. I think nowadays, you know, people are just somehow, you know, think that, you know, well, I guess, you know, they get the validation and that sort of stuff, and they somehow, you know, view themselves, you know, above and beyond everybody else, and the people around them. And how? It's not because you meet people that that'll pop you up in that. No, they talk out to the void and total strangers from like the other side of the world to say, yeah, that's a good idea.
And some kind of validation. I was going to hit the point of validation, and it's like the validation that you need as an individual, beside from your family and possibly close friends, is a validation and belief in you as the being. And yes, because we're humans, we seek it outside of ourselves from various sources or various things. But it starts with you. And getting that validation, being proud of yourself, or loving yourself, no matter your circumstance, no matter how old you are, or weight you are, or whatever, looking, it doesn't matter. You are in that skin, experiencing that experience. But as I said again, through anime, not because you're living through anime, but you're finding a value in that helps you value you.
Okay, so I hope you found that really interesting, and I always find it really interesting, to go and talk to some of the old people, because they always bring up stories that I sort of sometimes forget, or I don't quite have the exact wording sometimes, because I don't want to say something in regards to in about someone's story, when they can say it properly themselves, because I might get some details wrong or whatever. So it's always better that you get the information straight from them. As well as it's they always have some different perspective that maybe I just kind of forgot about, because so much time has passed. Sometimes I tend to forget them. So it's always good to to have a good conversation about that. Again, I will be doing more of them, so stay tuned for that. All right. So until next time, I will see you again.